Okay, cool. We're live. Um, so today we are going to go over the week 7, I believe it is, previews. I know it's a little bit late. The Patriots Jaguars game is going on right now, but we'll just go over the breakdown of all these games today. So starting off with GT Rogers versus Picking Six. GT Rogers is looking pretty solid. Jordan Love against Houston should be a shootout. So I like the Green Bay just wide receiver room, Green Bay quarterback, even like Tucker Craft. Um, Saquon and Kenneth Walker going up against some pretty easy run defenses. Actually, the Giants' run defense hasn't been too bad. Obviously, they gave up some yardage last week to Chase Brown and Zach Moss, but I still think Saquon's going to eat in this revenge game. And then Atlanta run defense versus Kenneth Walker. I could see Seattle kind of taking the lead in this one and then using Kenneth to kind of drain the clock. Justin Jefferson against Detroit. Um, this Detroit run defense took a massive blow with Aiden Hutchinson being injured, but I still think that they are going to try and pass the ball in Minnesota. I think that Jefferson's going to soak up most of the targets. Josh Downs, I like with Anthony Richardson being back. He's probably the only Colts wide receiver that is really startable at this point. Michael Pittman with Anthony Richardson has been playing like hot garbage. So I like the Josh Downs, Sam Laporta, kind of the same thing. Minnesota's defense has been very good, so I think they're going to have to pass the ball. Um, Running the rock is going to be pretty hard for Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think that out of either of the Detroit running backs, I think Jameer Gibbs is probably going to get more of the work, just because he's that like elusive, explosive runner compared to Montgomery's like ground and pound game. Jordan Mason coming off that injury, that shoulder injury last week, going up against a really rough Kansas City defense. I still think that Mason could get some decent points this week, but Kansas City's defense is no joke. Nothing to really be trifled with at all. Um, we are going to move over to pick and six. Kyler Murray versus the Chargers. This Chargers run defense has been very, very good. Granted, they haven't played a lot of great teams, but I think that the Cardinals are going to have to throw the ball a lot more. And I think that Kyler's elusiveness and his ability to scramble will really help out in this game. Jameer Gibbs, I already mentioned, should be in for a decent game. This might hopefully be the one breakout game between Gibbs putting him over Monty and really showing his higher draft stock in fantasy drafts. Brees Hall versus Pittsburgh, it's not gonna look great, but I think with Devonte Adams and their new play caller, I think that Brees could still eat because they're gonna have to be concerned about the pass instead of focusing on Brees Hall in the run. On Raw, like I said, Minnesota's run defense has been amazing. I think that the Lions are gonna have to pass it a lot more. So I really like Amon Ra. Amari Cooper, this will be our first time seeing him in this new Buffalo offense. I think that as Josh Allen's wide receiver one, he could get a bunch of points. I'm really excited to see how Amari plays this week, but I'm still taking it with a hint of, or with a grain of salt because we could see a great game out of Amari and then he totally falls off a cliff, or we could see a really bad game from Amari and he skyrockets in the next couple of weeks. Tennessee defense has been pretty good, but we'll see. Trey McBride, like I said with Kyler, I love the stack. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems to be playing, but he does have that concussion protocol. I think he might be able to clear it before Monday night, but I still like the McBride stack against the Chargers, who are going to limit James Conner in the run severely. And then J.K. Dobbins against this Swiss cheese of an Arizona run defense. I think that Dobbins could absolutely eat this game, maybe go for a couple touchdowns and around 100 yards. Should be a pretty fun game to watch. A lot of my players are in that Monday night game, so we'll see them uh, later in the week. Moving over to Deepless versus Mason Deserved It. Obviously, Deepless with that 21 point from the Broncos defense. Very good start to the week for him. Kirk Cousins and Bijan Robinson against Seattle. Um, uh, Seattle's run defense is still pretty bad, just because they have all of those injuries on the defensive line. So I could see a big game from Bijan. I don't know about Kirk Cousins because that Seattle secondary is still pretty good. Aaron Jones versus Detroit. Detroit still has a pretty good run defense, even if they did lose Aiden Hutchinson. Um, Plus, Aaron Jones is coming off of an injury, so we'll see how he can handle that. I think he should be fine, but I expect to see him used a lot more in pass work than in running the ball. Deontay Johnson versus Washington. Should be a matchup where if you have any fantasy players, you should play them because they are going to eat. I think Deontay is going to expose this Washington defense and go for a lot of points this week. Same with Terry McLaurin. Carolina's defense has been atrocious this year. I think that he could absolutely eat this week as well. Dalton Kincaid with Amari Cooper there. He's kind of relegated to the second option, maybe even third, depending on Khalil Shakir for Josh Allen. Very touchdown reliant tight end. I think that against this Tennessee defense, he'll be stopped pretty severely, and I think this might be a bad play, but he has Pat Fryermuth, and I definitely prefer Dalton Kincaid over Fryermuth. And Garrett Wilson with Devontae Adams in there. We'll see how Devontae Adams eats into his shares of touches, but I still think that this is a smash play. He's been playing amazing so far, and I think that against this Pittsburgh defense, they might try and throw the ball a lot more, which should benefit Wilson a lot. Moving over to Mason Deserved It. He has Lamar Jackson going up against Tampa Bay. Should be a very good game. I think that Baltimore is absolutely going to kill Tampa Bay. And I think that we could see a bunch of points from Lamar. Alvin Kamara, obviously only getting 8.4 points in that loss to Denver. Denver's defense is just super rough. I didn't see anything I hated out of Alvin Kamara, but that defense is just super rough to stop, and it's going to really hinder Mason Deserved its chances at winning this week. As you can see, D Plus is projected 143, Mason Deserved is projected 117. We'll see how that happens, or if the upset can really happen between a 1-5 team and a 5-1 team. Drake London, kind of same with Kirk. I don't think that this will be a very pass-heavy game for Atlanta. Chuba Hubbard, again, with the Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin. I think that if you have any startable Carolina players, any startable Washington players, you have to play them this week. Should be a game where there's a ton of points scored between the two teams. Jaden Reed against Houston, obviously Jordan Love's number one wide receiver. Houston secondary has been pretty good, but I still think that they're going to be in a positive game script for Jaden Reed. They're going to be down some points, and Jordan Love will have to throw the ball. So I like the Jaden Reed start. Devin Singletary, we're not too sure about. Obviously, he was injured the past 2 weeks. Going up against a really rough Philly defense. We've seen Tyrone Tracy go off the past couple of weeks, so I'm wondering if he starts eating into Singletary's workload. Should be an interesting game to watch. I don't think that Singletary will be that great, but he doesn't have too many more players that I would want to start in the flex spot. And then Brock Bowers against the Rams should absolutely eat with Devontae Adams out. They don't really have any more pass catchers in that game, so I'm super excited to see how Bowers does. Moving on to our third matchup, Kareem Pie versus Caleb's Dogs. Obviously, Kareem Pie at 131 projected and Caleb's Dogs at 120. Another upset watch. Evan Ingram already having 4.1 points it's about to be the end of the first quarter right now. Pretty solid performance from him at the moment. I mean, coming off of so many injured weeks, I still think that he's going to get a lot of receiving work in this game, because it seems like the Jaguars are going to be in a positive game script for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball and for Evan Ingram to get targets. Jaden Daniels with against Carolina, smash start. He's going to go off this week. He might be the highest point scorer uh, for the like in fantasy this week. I could see him absolutely eating. James Cook against a rough Tennessee team. We just saw Ray Davis go off last week, and I'm wondering if that also eats into James Cook's workload, but we'll see. Obviously Austin Eckler uh, against Carolina, got to start him. Marvin Harrison Jr. coming off of that concussion, going up against the Chargers, should be a pass-heavy game for the Cardinals. I do like it, but I still think that Trey McBride might put up some more points than Marv. Chris Godwin against Baltimore. Baltimore's run defense has been very, very good. Plus, they have the three-headed running backs in Sean Tucker, Bucky Irving, and Rachaad White, and I expect Baker to need to throw the ball a lot in this game as they're going to be down. And so I think that Godwin will be a good start. And then Malik Neighbors finally being healthy again against Philly. I think that he completely exposes his Philly secondary, and I think that Philly's going to be up a lot, and so Daniel Jones will have to throw the ball, and he loves throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors. Moving over to Caleb's Dogs, we have Sam Darnold against Detroit. Could be an all right start. Obviously, his other quarterback and Caleb Williams being on a bye kind of hurts him, but I think Sam Darnold could still go for some points. Kyren Williams against Vegas projected 22. Kyron's going to absolutely go off this game. This Vegas team kind of looks defeated so far. They're really going into a rebuild, and you can tell with them trading Davante Adams. I think that Kyron will absolutely eat in this one. Joe Mixon against Green Bay. I could see a positive game script for Mixon. I think that Houston might be up and they really want to run the ball. And Green Bay's run defense hasn't been too great this year. So we'll see how that goes for them. Ja'Marr Chase versus Cleveland. Bengals traditionally suck against the Browns, but with Deshaun Watson sucking as bad as he has, I think that Ja'Marr Chase could eat as the Browns defense will need to be on the field a lot. And that means that they'll get tired and that the Bengals will be able to kind of expose the Browns defense as the Browns defense has been the past couple of weeks. Mike Evans versus Baltimore. I prefer Chris Godwin just because it seems like this year Godwin is Baker's number one target, but I still like Mike Evans. I think he'll do pretty good as I already said that the Baltimore secondary is worse than their actual run defense. So I think that Evans could eat. Kyle Pitts versus Seattle. I think that if Kirk's going to be throwing, it's going to be to Pitts. I don't really like a lot of the outside matchups. I think that the middle of the field targets where Pitts is going to be where Cousins is going to have to throw. And then Deebo Samuel in the Super Bowl rematch. I think that out of all of the 49ers weapons, Deebo might be the one to play this week. Moving on to Elon Equality versus Steeler Virginity. Obviously, massive game from Jelante Williams for Elon Equality. He does need to move Cooper Kupp out, as it seems as Kupp is injured this week. But CJ Stroud I like this week. I think that this will be a shootout. Rachaad White I do not like at all, but it's not like he has many other options at the running back spot. Zay Flowers against Tampa, I think that this could be a very Derrick Henry-centered game, but I still think that Zay could see a lot of the receiving work like we have seen him get, especially last game where he got around 130 yards in the first half. And then Travis Kelce versus San Fran. I think that San Francisco is going to have to limit kind of the speed of Xavier Worthy and then Kareem Hunt and Juju. And I think that Travis Kelce could go off this week. And then New York Jet, that Davante Adams, New York Jet. I could see him getting a lot of work, especially finally reestablishing that connection with Aaron Rodgers. I think that he might go off this week like we haven't seen him do in the past couple of games this year. And apparently he's healthy. I think that the hamstring injury was kind of a fraud just to get him off of the Raiders. Moving on to Steeler Virginia's team, Jalen Hurts versus the Giants. I absolutely love. I think that Hurts is going to have to be throwing the ball a lot more. I think that, um, you know, I think that um, the New York Giants' run defense is better than their passing defense, and I think that so long as he doesn't throw many picks, he could soar above this 19.9 projection. David Montgomery, like I said earlier, I think Jahmyr Gibbs sees most of the work. I could see Montgomery getting in the end zone and vulturing a touchdown away from Gibbs, but we'll see what happens. I definitely prefer Gibbs in this matchup, though. Najee Harris versus the Jets. I think that with Russell Wilson back, I want out of this Pittsburgh offense. None of their wide receivers are going to do very well. I think that the Jets might just put Sauce Gardner on George Pickens and then be like, hey, we have to focus on the run now. I think that this could be a blowout where the Jets completely destroy the Steelers. Devontae Smith, I really like. I think that he is going to outperform A.J. Brown. I think that A.J. Brown is going to be shadowed by Deontay Banks this game, and Banks has been very, very good for the Giants. So I think that they're going to have to put their second or third corner on Devontae Smith, and I think Devontae Smith absolutely eats. Moving on to T. Higgins, same thing with Jamar Chase. I could see a lot of work for him just because the Browns offense sucks so bad that the defense has to be on the field all times, and they're going to get tired. Mark Andrews versus Tampa Bay at 6.3 projected. We saw Andrews kind of go off last game, but this is a tougher defense than the Washington team. I think 6.3 is about the right projection. He could put up a 0, though. Who knows? Really depends on how the Ravens are feeling game to game. And then Jameson Williams. Not too sure why Tyreek isn't starting or really any of these other guys aren't starting, but I like Jameson Williams. I think that if Goff needs to take a deep shot, if they are down by down against Minnesota, then he will have to go to JMO. Could be a sneaky good play. Obviously, Elon Equality projected 111, Steeler Virginia projected 104. Another upset watch in this game. And then finally, moving on to Jack's team versus Flom's Fantasia. Last matchup of the day. Josh Allen versus Tennessee. I could see a big game from Josh Allen, kind of exposing this Tennessee defense, even though they have been very good so far. Derrick Henry versus Tampa Bay. I think this is going to be a very Derrick Henry game script. And I think that Henry could absolutely go off against this kind of weakened Tampa Bay run defense. Devon Achane versus Indianapolis. Indy's run defense is not that good, but it really depends on how good Tyler Huntley is playing in this one. And still, Tua comes back. I don't really like Achane, but he could go off this game against a pretty crappy run defense. And then A.J. Brown versus New York Giants, already said, going to be shadowed by Deontay Banks. I think that Devontae Smith outperforms A.J. Brown this week. Stephon Diggs versus Green Bay. Like I said with C.J. Stroud, I think this could be a very high-scoring game. I think that Diggs will be kind of shadowed by Jair with some help over top from McKinney, but I still think that he could get a lot of like line of scrimmage targets and just rack up those points per reception. Colby Parkinson versus Las Vegas. Obviously, with Cooper, we just saw Cooper Kupp was out, so I think that Parkinson is a good option, especially with Jake Ferguson being on bye. And then Brandon Ayuk versus Kansas City. Ayuk's been kind of disappointing this year. We'll see if he can finally step it up in this Super Bowl rematch. Moving on to Flom's Fantasia. Joe Burrow, I think he's going to absolutely eat this game against Cleveland. Brian Robinson Jr., like I said, with Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Chuba Hubbard, I think you start any startable pieces that you have in this one game because it's going to be a high-scoring game and they're going to absolutely go off. Tony Pollard versus Buffalo. Buffalo's run defense has been very, very bad. Plus, with Mason Rudolph starting, I could see them really wanting to run the ball a lot more. I think that's going to become Tennessee's identity again, even if they don't have the beast that they had in Derrick Henry. DK Metcalf versus Atlanta. I think that it might be a very Kenneth Walker heavy game, but I still could see some points from DK. It really just depends on um, if he cannot lose out on those points like he has been the past couple of weeks. Tank Dell, I like a little bit more than Stephon Diggs. I think this is going to be a very Dell heavy game. And then George Kittle has been one of the best tight ends so far this year. I think against Kansas City, he might absolutely eat. It depends, though, because Kansas City's defense has been very, very good. And then finally, Tank Bigsby, who's currently playing right now, only at 0.4 points. Not looking great for Bigsby. This Patriots defense has been a lot better against the run than I thought they were going to be. I thought that Tank Bigsby was going to go off this game, but it seems not. I think with Dearness Johnson cutting into his touches, it's really hurting him. But we could see a big rest of the game breakout from Bigsby. It really just depends. And as we can see, Fom Fantasia is projected 118 and Jack's team is projected 116. Possibly another upset watch. We'll really see how that goes once we get closer to Monday night and Sunday night football. And then going to view our league standings. Obviously, the East is still very top heavy compared to the West. The West definitely has fewer weaker teams with 2 1-5 teams and a 2-4 team. The East has 2-4 teams, including myself, unfortunately. But we could see these standings change a little bit, as it seems like every single team is on upset watch this week. But we'll really see how it goes. So long as I do not personally lose this week, I think I will be fine, and I don't think that I will have to do my punishment at the end of the season. I think this is a big week for me, really make or break week. But Mason Deserved and GT Rogers both sitting at 5-1. Caleb's Dogs and Jack's team both sitting at 4-2, as well as Steel Virginity. These teams are pretty solid, but it seems like they might get overturned this week, as a lot of teams have been on upset watch. Elon Equality picking 6 and Fom Fantasia all at 2 and 4. Still have a decent cushion over the 1-5 teams, but should be somewhat scared if these 1-5 teams do get wins this week. Obviously, we head down here for the points 4. If we filter by points 4, it goes Mason Deserved It, sitting in the first seed, GT Rogers in the second, Jack's team in third place. I have the fourth most points for, but my record is not great. So we will see how that goes. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching the live stream. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you later for the Sunday night and Monday night football previews. Peace.